When the railways were introduced, the subject of canals gradually diminished in public importance. Canals were once, however, of the liveliest interest, particularly to those connected with the manufactures of Todmorden and district. The agitation of these people led to the construction of the Rochdale Canal. Barges such as this were once seen in large numbers navigating its 53 kilometres from Sorby Bridge in Yorkshire to Manchester. In the Manchester offices of the Rochdale Canal Company hangs this list of subscribers who helped finance the cutting of the canal, which began in 1794 with the most difficult sections at Sorby Bridge, Summit, and between the Ashton Canal Junction at Piccadilly and Castle Field. It was fully opened on December the 21st, 1802, at a cost of £600,000, and was the final stage in a canal link between Manchester and Hull. For 40 years, the canal was the main artery of transport between Lancashire and Yorkshire. Here at Sorby Bridge is where the Rochdale and Calder and Hebble canals meet. This is the junction elbow. The Calder and Hebble is to the left of the picture. Along the canal route can be seen many remains of the canal era. Warehouses, many of which are now derelict. Hebden Bridge owes much of its growth to the canal. It is a pleasant little manufacturing town with foundries and mills all about, their chimneys rising above the skyline. Hebden Water, crossed by this old bridge, joins the River Calder. The canal flows in its valley. The grey grit stone houses and factories reflect the abundant local supply of building materials and is so typical of this part of the north. Not far from the town square is the market, a long time since its merchandise was brought by canal. The shopping may be followed by a relaxation in these nearby gardens, or a short drive would take you to the beauty and peace of lovely Hardcastle Crags. From Hebden Bridge, the canal flows towards Todmorden. These three-storey houses on the canal near Todmorden are remains of the pre-industrial revolution period, when weaving and spinning took place at home. Todmorden, just within the Yorkshire boundary, stands at the meeting of three valleys through which roads set off to Halifax, Burnley and Rochdale. The moor hills rise grandly around. It is now wholly in the West Riding, but up to the turn of the century belonged to both Yorkshire and Lancashire, with the old boundary passing directly through the town hall. This newly cleaned, fine stone building stands on an island site and was built in 1875. The canal passes under the main road in the centre of the town. The road is carried over the canal by this iron bridge. A walk on the towpath reveals these conditions: damp, crumbling warehouses, foul-smelling water, and unsightly, rotten lock gates. It is, however, evident that there is still a place for the angler. An Act of 1952 authorised the extinguishment of public rights of navigation over the whole canal, except for a short section in the centre of Manchester. A busy industrial town, Todmorden, like Hebden Bridge, owes much of its prosperity to this canal, although it is difficult to believe by looking at it today. The town has often been called Honest John's Town. He was John Fielden MP, whose body lies in the Unitarian churchyard. When we got to Littleborough, we had to take a by-road as there was no road through the valley. In this short round is a greater succession of natural and artificial beauties than are surveyed in so small a compass of any journey. The shady streams of the meandering river and the artful line of the navigation are pleasant guides through this charming glen. There is a road through the valley today, but there was not in 1804, when this traveller passed through Littleborough on the Manchester to Leeds stagecoach. One of the artificial beauties of Littleborough is Hollingworth Lake, a large stretch of enclosed water which feeds the canal. The lake, with its background of hill and moor, was constructed in 1800. Its possibilities were soon discovered. Amenities were developed, and the lake became a popular inland resort, known as Wavers Seaport. Its fortunes declined, but is becoming increasingly popular, and new plans for a country park hold something for its future. Littleborough is almost completely surrounded by moorland, the town resting in the valley. The canal, railway and road to Todmorden run parallel to each other in this narrow valley. The eastern boundary is the Yorkshire-Lancashire county boundary. The road over Blackstone Edge falls steeply here on the Lancashire side, but despite its forbidding aspect to the early traveller, this hard way into Yorkshire has always been a well-used route. Before the modern road or the railway were constructed, this road was laboriously climbing over Blackstone Edge. It is said to be Roman, for the gauge of the wheel ruts is the same as the roads of Pompeii. There was a church here in 1471, but for hundreds of years after it had little company. At the dawn of the 19th century, the only buildings of consequence around it were the Old Sheaf, the Royal Oak, and the Old Falcon. It was during the 19th century that Littleborough grew after the introduction of transport and the power processing of cotton. In Saxon times, the only inhabited house in the district was Townhouse. The present building dates from 1799 and was later extended and modernised. With the coming of the Industrial Revolution, cottage industry was superseded by the growth of factories, which were located on the canal banks. Summit is the highest point on the entire navigation between the Mersey and the Humber at 183 metres above sea level. Since the canal fell into disuse, factories have expanded, resulting in various portions of the canal being culverted. This model demonstrates the procedure of moving up to a higher or down to a lower level. It is a long time since these locks have witnessed the passage of a barge. The present Toblin Road, driven through this charming glen, came in 1824. The railway, the first across the Pennies to Yorkshire, came in 1840. A remarkable feat of engineering was Summit Tunnel, its passage being marked by vent pipes. The tow bar, long disused, reminds us of the state of early roads. Calderbrook, an old hamlet within the Littleborough boundary, and a modern housing estate too. The day-to-day costs of maintaining the canal are over £12,000 a year, which is met by the sale of industrial water and its hire for cooling purposes. The brickworks at Summit, now derelict, awaits its doom. Demolition is imminent. Some bricks were found in one of the kilns. At Rochdale, the corporation has made an attempt to clean up the canal by providing this water play area adjacent to a new, large housing development. From Rochdale, the canal flows through Middleton, one of the largest towns surrounding Manchester. This town has managed to keep a black and white inn with crooked windows and overhanging gables on its busy highway. It is unusual to find a ship's anchor on the wall of your library. This one is from a wrecked Scandinavian bark which foundered off the coast of Blackpool in 1892. In the park is this memorial to those who perished in Middleton flood on July the 11th, 1927. Overlooking the park and factory chimneys is the 15th century church. In addition to its odd wooden belfry cap, this church has a tale to tell of Flodden Field. At Ancoats and Marsplatting, within the Manchester boundary, is the first stage of a £500,000 scheme to turn Manchester's section of the canal into a tree-lined waterway. The project consisted of landscaping a canal section and was completed early in 1971. Lock gates have been cleverly dispensed with. A new hard bed has been formed and children can play in complete safety, as the water is only a few centimetres deep. The final stage of the canal flows through central Manchester and into the Bridgewater Canal at the historic site of Castle Field. The once thriving canal is no longer navigable, but has left behind towns and a way of life that are characteristic of industrial Lancashire and Yorkshire, and yet, in their way, unique.